when the Belt and Road Initiative gets underway, 10 years ago, um, there was a one thing that a lot of Americans actually do know about China is the idea of the Silk Road. They understood that it was in some ways kind of an evocation of the Silk Road and the idea of connections between China and other parts of the world, especially China and the West. But as China has re-emerged as a significant player in global affairs, there's been a rethinking, I suppose, or a re-representation of the Belt and Road, so that now what Americans hear is accusations of what they call debt diplomacy, the idea that China is somehow luring these developing countries into obligations of financial indebtedness, which will damage the countries and benefit China in some exploitative or extractive way. And the irony is that it's projection onto China of the actual behavior that the United States has followed, because through direct American loans and assistance and all that, that's actually been the experience that we've had, that capitalism in America, has sought out ways to profit around the world, and has tried to develop economic relationships with other countries, which are based on enriching American corporations. And so when we look at other countries, and when we look at China specifically, that's just how Americans think about things. They look at the world through the lens of our own historical practices. It's harder and harder for them to understand that this might be a different model, because there's just so much constant criticism and condemnation of China in American media. The root of that mentality, I'm afraid, has deep roots in Western cultural traditions. After the collapse of the Roman Empire 1,500 years ago, Europe has remained a fragmented place where historically it's all been about conflict, and it's all been about who can impose power on others. And the United States is certainly not in Europe, but we are the outgrowth of those European traditions. And so we do have a culture which emphasizes the resolution of conflict by one side defeating the other. It's not a culture that is based upon the idea of finding common ground. And I think that that's almost a psychological distinction, between Western societies and, let's say, Confucian-influenced cultures in East Asia, primarily in China itself. In China, there has always been the idea of unity. When we talk about, Tianxia, under heaven, that's all of us. That's everybody. And it isn't just people. It's people, animals, plants, the soil, the water, the air. We are all connected to one another. We can read in Governance of China this vision of a world that isn't just about one group, one country, one society, but is about solving the problems that we all face in a way that will enhance all of our circumstances. We need to be able to learn from that and not copy it or reproduce it, but apply the same ideas, the same principles, the same methodology, if you will, to solving our problems in a way that then becomes mutually beneficial, becomes a future of shared prosperity. We have to find a way to advance that will raise up the livelihoods of people all around the planet. China has made incredible gains in that, eliminating absolute poverty, raising hundreds of millions of people to a better life. This is a historical accomplishment that really no other country on earth can claim as much of, right? But there's still so much out there. And this is why things like the Belt and Road Initiative are important. This is why this vision of a future of shared prosperity, of mutual benefit. That's really the only way forward for humanity.